Love is messy, life is chaotic, and sometimes the best way to survive it all is with a laugh.
Hmm.
If that quote makes you nod your head, even a little, then you are absolutely in for a treat with this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're diving headfirst into Emily Henry's latest novel, Funny Story.
Yeah, and we've basically gone through a podcast book review about it, sort of distilled it down to the key stuff for you.
Right. So our mission, really, is to help you quickly grasp what makes Funny Story tick, why it's such a witty, heartwarming rom-com.
Exactly. It's, equal parts hilarious and deeply human. We want to uncover why it might just be your next must-read. Especially, I think, if you appreciate that really snappy dialogue, maybe quirky characters, stories that make you feel something.
We've got it. So, yeah, buckle up. We're going to guide you through the key elements, the characters, the surprising depth, and why it seems to be hitting home for so many readers.
Okay, so first off, for anyone who already knows Emily Henry's work, well, she's kind of cemented this reputation, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. The queen of blending humor with emotional depth.
Exactly. She uses things like the internal monologue, unexpected sort of situational comedy.
Yeah.
It really draws you into the characters' minds, makes their emotional journeys feel, incredibly real.
Yeah, books like Beach Read or Book Lovers really set that standard. You totally get invested.
And funny story, it absolutely follows that style, that blueprint, but it adds a fresh twist,
Mm-hmm. And the setting. It's all set in this fictional small town, Willowbrook.
Right, Willowbrook. And we'll get into this more, but the town itself, it almost feels like its own character. It's not just a backdrop.
Totally agree. So it's the perfect stage for our two main characters.
Let's introduce them. First, there's Daphne. She's described as like a type A aspiring writer, very organized, very focused.
Okay.
And then there's Miles. He's more of a laid-back local handyman, got a real knack for sarcasm, but underneath, there's a surprising amount of charm there.
Polar opposite, sounds like.
Pretty much. And their worlds are about to collide in a way that's, let's say, wonderfully awkward, but also really endearing.
So what brings them together? How does this collision happen?
Well, imagine this. Daphne has her life meticulously planned out, right? And then, bam, a major career setback hits, which forces her to basically pack up and move to Willowbrook. And that's when her very, very ordered world just smashes right into Miles's.
Okay, so how does he fit in?
He ends up being her new roommate.
Oh, wow. Okay. The polar opposite roommate situation.
Yeah.
Classic.
Exactly. And their dynamic, it quickly falls into that kind of enemies to lovers space. But what makes it really interesting, I think, is the strong current of self-discovery running alongside it. It's not just about them falling for each other.
Right. It's deeper than the surface trope.
It is.
Yeah.
And what really stands out is how the story highlights that love isn't always about, big, grand gestures. It's more about learning to embrace the funny story of your own life.
Right.
Flaws and everything. That message really grounds the whole thing, makes it super relatable.
Yeah, I totally see that. And for me, one of the absolute highlights has got to be the humor.
Oh, for sure.
It's so sharp. But like you said about her style, it's never mean. Emily Henry just has this incredible gift for dialogue. It feels so natural, but then suddenly you're actually laughing out loud. Like, you can just picture Daphne, right, all wound up, trying to navigate some small town thing.
Yeah.
And Miles just drops this perfectly timed, super dry comment that just, poof, deflates all her pretension.
Totally. Their banter is fantastic. It goes back and forth between these playful jabs and then suddenly these really raw, vulnerable moments. It keeps you hooked.
And it always makes you smile, or at least grin.
Building on that humor, though, is that central theme you mentioned. Imperfection as a superpower.
Right. Tell me more about that.
Well, Daphne's journey is key here. She starts as this total control freak, right? Everything has to be just so. And watching her learn to kind of roll with the punches is it's incredibly relatable. Think about how she first reacts to that career setback, probably a meltdown, right?
Oh, I can imagine.
But by the end, she's actually finding humor in the chaos, in the unexpected stuff. She starts to embody that idea that maybe imperfection is okay, maybe it's even a strength.
So the book doesn't shy away from the tough parts.
Not at all. It really dives into the messy parts of growth. Failed dreams, pressures from family, that fear of being too much or maybe not enough. We all feel that sometimes.
Awesome.
And it really hits home with this powerful message. Love isn't about fixing someone. It's about accepting them. Quirks, flaws, the whole package.
That is powerful. And does Henry show us how Daphne learns this? Is it like a specific moment, maybe an interaction with Miles, or just gradual?
I'd say it's definitely more of a gradual internal shift, but it's absolutely woven through those challenges and her interactions, especially with Miles. You
Okay.
see her slowly letting go of needing everything perfect because of Miles. He's got his own stuff going on, sure, but he basically gives her the space to just be.
He doesn't try to change her.
Exactly. He just sees her, the real her. And that kind of gives her permission to see herself differently, too, eventually.
That's lovely. And beyond their personal journeys, the characters themselves sound so vivid. Miles, for instance.
Oh, Miles feels incredibly real. He's, grumpy on the surface, maybe a bit cynical, but underneath, he's fundamentally kind, and his backstory, it adds so many layers, makes his charm feel earned, not just tacked on.
And what about Willowbrook? You said it's like a character itself.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just wallpaper. Willowbrook has personality. It's that quintessential, quirky small town where, everyone knows your business.
Uh-huh. The fishbowl effect.
Right, but somehow in the coziest way possible, it's not malicious gossip, it's more involved. If you can picture maybe Gilmore Girls meets Ted Lasso vibes, that warmth, that eccentricity, you're pretty much there.
Oh, I love that comparison. That paints a perfect picture. It's the kind of place you feel like you could step right into.
Totally. You immediately feel kind of at home, even with all the weird little town traditions and things.
And I bet the supporting cast helps with that too. Like Daphne's best friend, Jules. Sounds like she brings some energy.
Oh, Jules is fantastic. She's described as chaotic, and she adds just the right amount of sparkle and, comedic relief. Doesn't steal the show, but definitely enhances it.
Nice. And speaking of authenticity, there's that interesting bit about Emily Henry herself, right?
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Apparently, she wrote Funny Story while she was kind of reevaluating her own creative process. She's talked openly about how Daphne's struggles with perfectionism really mirrored her own struggles at the time.
Wow. So it's quite personal then.
It seems like it. And when you know that, it adds this extra layer, doesn't it? Like a little secret understanding between the author and the reader. It makes the whole story feel incredibly heartfelt, very authentic.
Yeah, that personal connection definitely shines through. Someone might argue, okay, enemies to lovers, quirky small town. Haven't we seen these rom-com beats before? Which, okay, is maybe fair on the surface.
Sure, the tropes are familiar.
But what really elevates it, I think, is just how well Henry executes it. The pacing feels so tight, the emotional moments, they just land perfectly. How do you think she pulls that off? Making familiar beats feel so fresh.
That's a great question. I think it really comes down to her character work, like we've been saying, and the way she builds tension and anticipation for those emotional payoffs. She doesn't just tell you the characters are changing. She shows you these tiny moments, these shifts. And she often uses contrast, right? Like a really vulnerable moment might come right after something hilariously awkward.
Right, which makes the vulnerability hit even harder.
Exactly. It's that balance, that skillful weaving of humor and heart that makes the familiar feel completely new again.
That makes perfect sense. So ultimately, who is this book really for?
Well, I'd say it's for anyone who's craving a read that's genuinely laugh out loud funny 1 minute
Yeah.
and then kind of tear-jerkingly sweet the next. Someone who appreciates that blend.
And maybe someone looking for that reminder that, life's best moments often pop up from the detours, the things we never actually planned.
Precisely. Funny Story isn't just a romance. It really feels like a celebration of finding joy, even when things are chaotic.
Something we could all probably use a little more of.
Absolutely. So maybe, think about how that perspective might apply in your own life, finding the humor in the messy bits.
Yeah. So we'll leave you with this final thought to sort of chew on. If life's unplanned detours can lead to the best moments, what unexpected funny stories might be waiting out there for you to embrace, even in situations that right now just feel messy?